everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of 9 Minute Big Life Mindset. I'm actually going to break with tradition, and rather than share an anecdote of some kind of crazy situation that I've found myself in or that I've created, I'm going to share with you one of what I think is a secret ingredient to happiness. It's a big claim, eh? It's actually quite a big claim when I say it out loud, but I mean it. Okay, so this secret ingredient isn't as secret as probably what I suggested. It's based on a phrase that everybody would have heard at some stage, where it is, your ego is your enemy. Now, that phrase has probably been around since day dot. But what I think it struggled with, what I had a lot of struggles with, were, it sounds great as an idea, but what the hell does it actually mean? You know, what does it look like in real life? I can think of three things when I think of my ego as my enemy. The first one is that my ego often stops me from laughing at myself. And it makes me just far too serious. Far too serious. Life is too short to be that serious, but it does. And so one of the things I find is that by being able to just laugh at my own expense, you know, not in a way that destroys my self-esteem, but it's just full of warmth. Like, you know, that kind of laughter that you can have in about a situation. There's so much goodness in the laugh. When I have those situations when I'm laughing at myself, I feel so good about that moment in time. I feel crazy good about it. And that warmth I'm creating and that warmth that I have in my own laughter makes a moment so much sweeter. The second thing I reckon is really useful about that ego is your enemy phrase is when you realize what it does and how powerful it is, you realize that it actually stops you. I'll personalize it. It stops me from stepping outside of my comfort zone just in case I make a mistake. Just in case someone sees it and judges me on it. Now that is absolutely ridiculous, right? That I would have such a mental obstacle. My own ego is preventing me from getting out of my comfort zone and actually growing. And that's a really powerful thing to kind of have against me. You know, my own will, my own brain power, I guess. My own sense of self. Maybe that's a better way to describe it. The last one I think that's really important is when you have an ego like this, it actually prevents you from this really liberating experience that you get when you discard other people's opinions of you. And you kind of say, you know what? That's cool that you've got that opinion of me, but I don't really care. Yeah, and I think that's quite a big thing for us to overcome. And in fact, it's probably the biggest out of those three things is just being able to say, you know what? It's cool that you've got an opinion and it's about me, but I'm not going to let that opinion shape the way I want to live my life. Now, sure, there's definitely going to be 4 or 5 opinions in your life at any time, I guess, that you really value. And they do mean a lot to you, and they should. And they help you, provide you with maybe a compass or a reference point or just something that you find you gain some use out of, those valued opinions. And that's cool to have. But the other 95% are these opinions that really just don't actually mean anything. And if you're like me, you placed a lot of emphasis on them and trying to people please all the time. But one, that's tiring. And two, if you put 100 people in a room and you say to them, okay, well, give me your thoughts about how I've been living my life so far. you'll probably get 100 different opinions. And so being aware of that and understanding what that means for you, i.e. it's preventing you from doing things, it's preventing you from growing, is something that, man, I honestly cannot overstate enough how important that has been to be able to understand that my ego is my enemy and be actively working on ways to break it down. I shared this open mic example recently, and that was a really cool process where I actually, I had to force myself to say, right, I'm going to share my poetry, my inner thoughts with people, and it's going to be cool that they hear it, but I'm not actually doing it for their gratification. I'm not actually doing it so that they can give their positive opinion on it. I'm doing it because I'm passionate about it, and I'm okay with making a mistake or it sounding like it was my first time, which funnily enough it was. And I'm just cool enough with myself to say, man, if I go out there and I bomb this, that's all good. And the reason it's all good is because I'm learning, and I'm okay with that, making mistakes when I'm learning. Better still, as my recent experience showed, like I forgot a whole verse, a bunch of verses. I didn't even realize until, maybe a day after. So I didn't realize that I'd missed out these verses until maybe a day later. And then when I did, rather than being like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this, I was actually laughing at myself and thinking, man, after I practiced that much, like I practiced this thing ad nauseum and I still forgot it. These things happen, Cool, I can laugh at that. I can laugh at myself, and despite all the practice I put in, I still dropped the ball and I still had a great time doing it. So yeah, I think this is absolutely one of the key ingredients to happiness, in my humble opinion. This has worked an absolute treat for me, recognizing that my ego can absolutely get out of control sometimes, and it doesn't hurt just to break it down a bit, even if I'm doing it myself. And I quite enjoy breaking down my own ego, and then getting all that positivity that comes with being able to laugh at myself, and and being able to step out of that comfort zone and not worry about making mistakes, and also having that feeling of, what, it's cool that everybody has their opinions, but I don't need to shape my life according to everybody's opinions. If you got kids around, just maybe block their ears. But this is a phrase that I developed, came up with, invented, whatever, that it just rings so true for me. Here it goes. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, and some of them are more full of shit than others. Awesome. I hope you enjoyed that. Sharing of my inner thoughts there. Once again, as always, you can click follow and subscribe, or follow me on Instagram at big_life_mindset. That's Big Life Mindset. And if you take away nothing from this episode at all but this next piece, then I'll be super happy, and I think you'll be too. So here's a phrase that I want you to write down or put it on your phone, or just remember. Be uncomfortable and grow. All right, thanks everybody. I love you all, and peace out.